Welcome to the 5 for 2 podcast with me, your host Adele, where we say no to careers where you're trading 5 days of misery for 2 days of fun. A place we discuss all things career, confidence, and money moves. I want to motivate, teach, and empower ambitious women to achieve more, earn more, feel more confident, and enjoy the work they do. It's all about believing you can have everything you want in your career and then going and getting it. So if you're ready, let's get into it. Hi, welcome to another episode. I hope you're all well. Let's get straight into it. Today's question is, does a good work environment beat a good salary? The reason I even want to talk about this is because it came up as a post on my LinkedIn recently. And the person who wrote the post has a huge following, and they were saying that a pay rise only makes you happy once a year, but a good work environment makes you happy every day. And it really got me thinking, is that true or not? And you know me, I started arguing with myself because I was like, listen, maybe it depends on the season of life you're in, which I do think has some impact. But then I was like, let's go back. A pay rise only makes you happy once a year. Who said you can only ask for a pay rise once a year? If you've been listening to my podcast episodes for a while, you know that that's not my belief. Like, who said? Companies love that the majority of us, or the majority of you guys, it's not me, I'm broken out of that spell, still believe that pay rises can only happen once a year. Listen, if I take a job and within 6 months, I'm hitting all my KPIs, I'm overachieving my KPIs, I'm hitting all my targets and I'm overachieving them, that means you are getting more for your money than you originally thought. Because you thought, okay, this is what I'm going to get and this is what I'm going to pay her for it. I'm now doing way more than that, above and beyond. I'm completing projects way before deadline. I got your teams upskilled. I've reduced debt or made you some money in those 6 months. And I've got to wait another 6 months for a pay rise. Absolutely not. I'm coming to have a conversation and negotiate with you. I'm coming to let you know everything you paid for, you're getting more. So you're paying me, but you're getting more for your money than you originally thought. And that's not going to work. I'm not going to keep giving you more for your money. So we're going to have to renegotiate the money. So that's the first point. Why do we still believe that you have to wait once a year for a pay rise? Now, don't get me wrong. There's times in jobs where I've waited for the year to go past because I just haven't felt like I've got enough or I've brought enough to the table to negotiate before that point. There's been times when at 12 months, I had lots to negotiate with, but I waited to 18 months so I could have even more and get double the money that I wanted. Listen, getting the 10, the 20, the 30, the 40, the 50k pay rises, it's not always about changing jobs. I've got a 15k pay rise in my same job. One of my clients got a 12k pay rise in her same job. One of my clients last year got a 20k pay rise in her same job. She did not have to change jobs. You just need to know what you're doing to be able to get that pay rise more than once a year. Also, you have to be willing to not settle, because I'm not settling for just because who told us that the rule is once a year? Companies want you to believe that fake rule that isn't nowhere, doesn't exist anywhere. It's just something society says, oh yeah, we get a pay rise once a year. Who set that standard? Who said? However, they made a good point saying that when you have a good environment, it does make you happy every day. And I agree with that. Because when you have a crappy work environment, you're miserable every day. No day do you want to go into work. Who wants to work with awful people, awful bosses, and do an awful job that you don't enjoy? No one. So yes, having a good environment makes you happy. Does it make you more happy than having money? Listen, this is my answer. How can it be a good environment if they're underpaying you? Is it not a part of being a toxic job that they're not paying you right, they're overworking you and underpaying you? Let's keep it real. I don't care how nice the environment is. How can you really say, oh yeah, this is a great environment that takes advantage of you? Anywhere that takes advantage of you cannot be a great environment. So even if everyone's really friendly, even if everyone's really nice, if I'm underpaid, how can that be a good environment? However, again, I've said however a few times now, I do think the season of your life will dictate whether money or environment is more important. Just to be clear, I want both. I want a good environment and good money. However, I know that that's not always the case. And I know at different times in my life, I needed different things. In my 20s and 30s, especially my early 30s, money was the motive. That was it. I didn't care about nothing else. I don't care if your environment's nice. I don't care if people are mean. I worked in some of the most awful places. Now, one was so awful I left after a few weeks. However, another one, I stayed for almost 2 years. So I'll tell you why. That money was amazing. I bought my first car, like my first brand new, like sports. Listen, it was a BMW. Let's just say that. I bought my first nice luxury car because of that job. I took my daughter to Disneyland for her birthday and paid for my cousin to also be there to come with us because of that job. I was able to travel 2 or 3 times a year because of that job. I was able to pay off some of my debt because of that job. I was able to have a huge amount of disposable income. So the bills was always paid, never had to worry about the bills being paid, had a lot of extra money because of that job. So yeah, in my 20s and 30s, money was absolutely the motive. It took 2 years in that toxic environment before I left because the money was that good. Every month I would be like, nah, this job is too much. I'm going to leave. And then my money would hit my account and I said, yeah, I can stick it out another month. That happened for almost 2 years before I decided to leave. I got promotions. I got pay rises. Listen, I was living the dream as far as my career was concerned. I got the title that I needed to then be able to propel my career forward everywhere else. Like, it was a good look for me and it's all I cared about. I didn't care how much the environment was good or not. But as I started to get older, that did matter. But I'm going to be real. Like I said, I worked for some terrible people. In my 20s, I really didn't care. I'm quite lucky though, because I do believe that I'm a human who can compartmentalize things. So when I say that, what I mean is I can put things in their own box and not stress over them, whereas I know some people can't do that. Like, I can be stressed. Everything can be falling apart in my personal life and no one at work would ever know. Because I can put that in a box, put it to the side, show up at work, smile, happy, be the best me I need to be. I am really good at separating things like relationship, friendship, career, business. They are all separate things to me. One could be falling apart. Literally, one could be on fire. And it doesn't mean for me that it needs to show up in any other area of my business or in my life, sorry. It doesn't need to show up in my life because if that's happening in my career, yes, I'm stressed. Yes, I'm sad. Yes, I'm upset. But I'm not going to feed that into my relationship. If I'm having issues in a friendship, like a really bad issues, like especially when you've got close friends and long-term friendships. Say I've got a close friendship and say for whatever reason, like I had a friendship from years, like from college, that fell apart in my 30s. Like it fell apart. Like it was horrible. And that person wasn't who I thought they would be. And we'd been friends for like, let's say almost 20 years. I'm trying to think. College. How old are you at college? 16. Yeah. Yeah. So it was about an 18-year friendship. Falling apart. No one would have ever known unless I opened my mouth and told them. I went to work every day fine. I came home and was sad and dealt with that stuff there. All that crap I dealt with at home. All the calls, the text messages, the anger, I dealt with that at home. Work was work. But I know everyone can't do that. I know everyone doesn't have that ability. Some people, if their life is falling apart, they can't go to work and put on a smile. They can't go to work and genuinely forget about home. I forget about it. I'm happy to have a distraction. Why do I want to be miserable all the time? If I'm already miserable in one situation, why am I bringing it into a new situation? I'm trying to make the other situation make me happy. So I remember when my mum got really sick, like 9 years ago, and she was in the hospital for over a month. I went to work every day. And my boss knew what was going on and was like, why are you here? And I was like, because this is my distraction. I'm happy here. I ain't got to think about nothing. I got to work. I'm busy. It takes my mind off my stress. So for me, that helps. I know that doesn't work for everyone. I know some people, like I said, will be stressed, have things falling apart, suffer from depression and all types of things, and they cannot separate the two. And in those instances, they need to remove themselves. When you cannot separate the two, you have to remove yourself. In the sense of, if your job is contributing to your stress and your depression, then you need to remove yourself and find another environment that isn't. However, like I said, for me, in the season of life I was in, Money was the motive. I became a single mum, not something I knew was going to happen or not something I planned. But it meant that money was what I cared about. Having a nice boss, that was a luxury. At that time, listen, I had a small child, a 4-year-old, and bills to pay and do everything by myself. I went from living with someone and raising a child to living alone with my child and paying for everything myself. Everything. So money was the motive. I did not want my daughter to feel like, oh, she was less than. That's how my daughter got to go to Disneyland when she was 4 years old for her 5th birthday. Why? Or for her 4th birthday. I always forget. Anyway, the reason that happened was because I was a single mum at this point, but I was making good money. That smile on my daughter's face was worth having to deal with an idiot of a boss. I promise you. I can't say the same now. I can say that the smile on my daughter's face, I'll put up with a lot to make sure that situation is good and I can take care of everything that's going on. But she's older now. It ain't the same. I'm older now. What I need from my career is balance. I also have a business now. So I am not as ambitious in my career as I was in my 20s or in my early 30s because I was crazy ambitious because I wanted money. And I knew that the higher up you climb, the more money you made. So jobs only felt good to me if they were paying me good money. When a job wasn't paying me good money, I didn't feel happy. It didn't matter if everyone I worked with was super nice because I wasn't happy because I couldn't live the life I wanted to live outside of work. And when work becomes your whole life, like when you're not having an enjoyable life outside and work becomes your whole life, that is, for me, super depressing, super upsetting. That gives me anxiety. I'm not going to lie, because I can't have everything revolving around work because basically I can't afford to do nothing when I'm not at work. That it's just too much. It's just too much. Work already takes up too much time of the life you're trying to live, especially if you work full time. So for me, at that point in my life, yes, money was the most important thing. Then I remember going to a job. It was actually my early 30s, and it was so bad that I left after like 11 weeks. I was like, I can't do this. This is too much. Like, it's horrible. I can't be here. And that was the first time I really was like, the money isn't worth this level. And I think we all have our own levels of what we can tolerate. I was like, I don't care how much money you pay me. I can't tolerate this nonsense. I can find another job. I really can find another job. But again, I still was chasing money. Then my daughter was getting ready to like start school and different things, and I wanted to be closer to home because she was getting older. But she was getting older in the sense that I felt like those years were critical. Like I know a lot of parents want to stay home when their kids are like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like that age. I didn't feel like that age was super critical because I've worked with children and I know that they don't remember most things up before 5. Like most kids, the earliest memory is going to be about 3 or 4. Most kids. And that's only a couple of vague memories, like at 4 years old. 5, 6 is where they really can go back and remember. Like all of you, how many of you as a grown adult can remember what happened at 3 years old? Most of you can't remember your 3rd birthday. Most of you can't even remember your 5th birthday. Let's be realistic. So just from that standpoint, I never thought those ages were super critical. Critical in the sense of what she's learning, what she's eating, what she's doing, but not for me to need to be closer to home. I worked in central London when my daughter was younger. Like when she was first really young, I still worked in school. So I was really lucky she could come with me. But once she got to a certain age, I went to work in central London, wasn't worried about it. But after that, I was like, I don't want to work in London anymore. She's going to be like 8, 9 years. I want to be home. She's going to be like 10. She's going to start high school soon. Like, I want to be home. So actually, finding a job that was close to home became my motive. And I was lucky that that was a nice environment. They did not pay me well to start with. Now, that was the job that ended up being the job where I negotiated full-time money for part-time hours. I did a lot in that job. I got promoted like 3 times in 1 year. I was able to negotiate really big salaries. But at first, that was not the situation. It was close to home and the people were nice. That was the season of life that I was in. I didn't care about chasing the money as much because I had made good money and I had saved good money. So it became less about the money. However, even though that environment was really nice and I was having fun, guess what? A few months in, not earning the money I was used to earning started to feel like a problem. Because it doesn't matter how nice an environment is, you will resent it if they are not paying you well. Do not let someone smiling in your face throwing pizza parties and bringing Krispy Kreme donuts in the morning trick you into thinking being underpaid is okay. Do not let people play in your face because they're nice, because they're friendly. Oh, okay, it's all right that I'm not paid as much as I could be somewhere else. No, we want both. Let's be real, we want both. But we also need to assess the season of life we're in. Can you afford to be in a season where you aren't making the money you need to make? How far is it keeping you from your goals because you're not making the money you need to make? Also, can your mental health withstand being in an environment which isn't positive? What season of life are you in? Early 20s, early 30s, I was mentally strong. You couldn't break me. You still can't break me. I was bullied as a kid. Listen, when you get bullied as much as I got bullied, when you're the only little black girl in your school and the only one that looks the way you look and you get bullied, I mean physically, like beat up on a daily basis, all the way through primary school, I promise you one or two things will happen. You will become someone who is bullied the rest of their life, or you will become me and never allow anyone to bully you again and stick up for all the people that get bullied. So I was lucky that that situation built me. I'm also coming from a line of strong Jamaican women. I come from a long line of strong women. To break me mentally is a hard task. So therefore, I could mentally withstand a lot. I have got friends, I have got family, I have got clients who mentally could not withstand that. That doesn't make them weak. It makes them different. We are all different. We are all given different talents. They don't have that. They have other talents that I'm in awe of, but they don't have the mental strength that they can put up with certain jobs. Remove yourself. At that point, the environment is super important. Because if it is already affecting your mental health, then it means the environment is most important. I don't care how much money you're making. The environment is more important. Your health is always more important than money. So if you were to ask me, is the work environment more important than a salary? Only if that environment is going to affect your health, then absolutely changing environment is more important than the salary. I don't care if you're on 6 or 7 figures. If you don't have your health, you have nothing in life. I will say that again. I don't care if you earn 6 or 7 figures. If you do not have your health, you have nothing in life. If you are ever someone who suffers from bad health, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I've had my fair share of health things go on, but for the most part, I'm healthy-ish. Let's say ish. But when you struggle with health, when you struggle with physical health or mental health, everything else, the money doesn't even matter at that point. So that's the only time when I would say a good work environment beats a good salary. But as a general rule, we're not picking. We want them both. Like Cardi said in Bodak Yellow, I ain't got to choose. I don't want to choose. I can get them both. It's the same for you. You can get a good work environment and a good salary. But if you need to choose based on the season of life that you are currently in. Is money the motive, or is happy, friendly people who make tea the motive? I know I downplayed that a bit because you're thinking to yourself, Adele, I can't choose the second one because then that sounds silly. But let me be realistic. Not happy people that make tea. Happy people in general, a lovely environment, somewhere that you like waking up, going to. That's really important. Like, do you wake up and forget about like not wanting to go to work? None of us want to go to work, especially if you're in the UK right now. It's freezing. None of us want to get up and go to work. It's dark in the morning, dark when we leave. Like, it's awful. However, do you like where you are? Do you like where you spend 40 hours a week? Because a lot of you are working 35 or 40 hours a week. I know for my little 16 hours, my sometimes little 21 hours, because you guys know I'm doing an extra day at the moment for my company until like May. Them small hours, I enjoy the people I work with. I enjoy who I'm around. I'm blessed and I'm lucky. But previous jobs, that hasn't been the case. I want both, a good work environment and a good salary. And if someone's not paying you a good salary, how can you call it a good environment? If someone is willingly taking advantage of you and underpaying you and knowingly underpaying you, how is that a good environment? How is that not just as toxic as them crazy bosses that be calling you 24/7 when you're on holiday? How is it not the same? They're taking advantage of you by underpaying you. So yeah, question of the day. Does a good work environment beat a good salary? I would love to hear your opinions on this. So drop the comments in my show notes. You can drop comments. You can message me on Insta. Share your thoughts, because I love a good debate. And I also maybe will share your thoughts in a future podcast episode. I may share some of what you guys come back and tell me. And no, everything's anonymous and no names. But I'm saying I might share your thoughts. But what are your thoughts? Does a good work environment beat a good salary? And is it true that you only get a pay rise, makes you happy once a year, but a good environment makes you happy every day, so the environment wins? Is that true? Like I said, for me, absolutely not. Being underpaid can never be a good thing for me. I want both a good environment and a good salary. And if I had to choose in my life has proven that if I had to choose one, I'm going to choose the salary most of the time. Depending on how good it is, and also depending on how bad the situation is. This point in my life, though, I want both. I can't work with or for horrible people, but I also can't work for crappy money. So we need a bit of balance. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this episode. It was short and sweet compared to how long my episodes usually are. Guys, if you want to work with me, or you know anyone who might be helped in their career by working with me, you guys know I help with career changes, I help with career upgrades, I help with salary negotiation, I help with selling yourself. If you listen to the episode before this, it was all about identifying your skills so that you can get paid more and so that you can change industry this year. Anyone who is looking for support on that, book a call with me. Head over to my website, AT Enrich. A for Adele, T for Thompson, AT Enrich, because we enrich your life, we enrich your careers, we enrich your money, we enrich all of it, we enrich your confidence. So atenrich.com. Head over there, book yourself a free consultation call, and let's see if working together is a good thing. But for now, I'm going, and I will speak to you in the next episode. I hope this episode gave you exactly what you needed and motivated you to confidently take steps towards your next career move. If you enjoyed it, screenshot and share it on your socials, tag me on Instagram, and come join my community of amazing women working on leveling up their confidence and career. Thanks for listening, and see you next time.